What's up, everyone? It's your boy Terry speaking from the garage shop. Well, outside the garage shop once again. Gonna offer you some more big bang for the buck project info. Yeah, you know, it's about that time where it's fall. It's beautiful out, but we here at the garage shop, we're fixing to do a couple of projects, a lot of projects here during the winter. Now, even though we're itching to get back on like the performance projects, we also got to take care of, you know, stuff like general maintenance stuff. Like on the Trailblazer SS. Today what we're gonna do is, we gotta put brakes on the car. Yeah, we're gonna do a complete brake job on this truck, and it all starts with removing the cap. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace all the pads and all the rotors, and it all starts with a call from Summit, and I purchased the PowerStop Sport Pad. They're carbon fiber and ceramic performance pad. Now PowerStop, they make several different styles of pads depending on what you're using the vehicle for. You may want to check them out on the website. All right, and I didn't stop there. No, I always go with the cross-drilled and slotted Evolution. Check it out. It's got the true cast technology. Oh yeah. You know, these performance drilled and slotted rotors, and check it out, look what it says. Improves safety, improves stopping distance, improves pad bite, and improves the pedal feel. Oh yeah. So first thing I need is a floor jack, air compressor, I need my air compressor, some tools, my impact gun, a jack stand, then we get started. Now I cannot stress this enough, even though I have a stand underneath this truck, I always use the floor jack to secure it. In some cases I'll use two stands, I'll still use the floor jack. This is just extra insurance and it's a fail-safe. So please, this is the cover man talking to you, heart to heart. Be safe, please. So we got the wheel off, and you can see the jack stand. As I was saying, you know, be safe, please. Be safe. All right, so what we got to do is we're gonna remove the rotor. We got new rotors, and we're gonna remove the pad, but we're gonna have to take this caliper off. And how you do that is you got two little bolts right here, one here, and one at the bottom. You see it right there. That's the one. The second one's down here. Can't miss them. Caliper should come right off, like so. All right. Now it's going to expose you to the pads. You can take the pads out and replace them, but remember, we also want to take this rotor off, and the only way you can take the rotor off is to remove this bracket. You got two bolts, one back here and one up here. A lower caliper bracket bolt. Big bolts like this. Ooh. Put some anti-seize on this because you will have a Joan of a time getting it out. So make sure when we put it back, we throw some anti-seize. And here's the bracket. This is what the bracket looks like. So now with the bracket out, you're able to take off. You're able to take off this rotor. In case the rotor gets stuck, what you can do is, they got these little holes right here. You can put like a bolt and just tighten it in. The first one I'm going to do before I do that, little WD-40 to loosen up. Take these little bolts like this, screw them in, just tighten down. Eventually it'll pop off. There it is. Comes out. So now we can put the new rotor on. And you know what's cool about these PowerStop rotors? Check it out. Nice and shiny, and look at them. They come labeled, see? This says rear driver's side. So I'm in the rear and I'm on the driver's side, so done. So now we gotta prep the bracket and the caliper. Let's have a little talk. We'll go with the bracket first. Now, as you can see, the pads are still in here, so just remove them. And as you can see, this pad, like I said, is shot. The outer pad, you still got a little life on it, you see? So, but let's just replace them all. All right, now you got these little clips that hold the pad in place. You want to just remove them because you got them in the box that comes with the pads. So let's just remove them. They pop out just like that. And also what you want to do is, you see how this rubber grommet, you know, it's off? You see? Well, look at that. Ooh. So this was in bad shape. So let's service this a little. Let's open up the pads. Let's get those clamps. And they just snap right in place. See? All right, this rubber piece. All right. You see that? That rubber piece went in there to keep dirt out and everything. We want to get new rubber pieces, which happen to come in the bag. But before I put it back in, I want to lubricate this, because you can see it's starting to rust a little. So I want to lubricate this. But PowerStop in the kit, they give you silicone lubrication. You can use this for everything. You can use it for this. You can use it for the back of the pad so you don't get that squeaking. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to lube these boys up. We're all lubed up, so now what I'm going to do is a little trick real quick. I'm going to put this rubber piece over, all right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in place, right? And then I'm going to push down on it. All right, just like that, because you want to seal. And if you push down on it and turn, now what's going to happen is that little rod right there, that bolt, that's going to seat itself. You see? Okay, so we're good to go. I'll take that same lubrication and I'm going to put it on the back of the caliper pad. So you don't have to, you know, cake it on, but be generous. All right, so now we got the bracket looking good and we got the pads all, you know, lubed up in the back. Now you could do this after you install them in the bracket, but I just wanted to show you what was going on. So I got both ends in like that, and then push down. You see that? And now they're in. Well, as you can see, we got the bracket installed with all the new hardware, and we even got the pads lubed up, and it's ready for the caliper to be put on. But first we need to have a discussion about that caliper, because it's very interesting. Whenever you're doing brakes, you want to put the caliper somewhere where the stress isn't on the brake line. Because if this was to get a hole in it, this brake line, now you're going to have to replace it. And then when you replace it, you're going to have to bleed the brake. So that's a pain. So just remember, this is a very fragile line. So stay tuned, because I'm going to replace all of these rubber brake lines on this truck with stainless braided. When you have a weak rubber line, sometimes they bubble when you hit the brakes. So that will eliminate that. And besides, I think it's time for me to replace them. You see that? It's called the piston. So when you hit the brakes, the fluid's going to make this cylinder come out, go up against the pad, and then the pad is going to go up against the rotor. And that's how you get your stop and power. All right. So now this right here is what's known as a single piston. Usually in the front, you have a double piston. Now, a double piston rotor has 2 cylinders. So the more cylinders, the better the stopping power. Now, when you do brakes and when you take the caliper off, chances are you're going to see the piston sticking out. That's because it was used, okay? And as the pads wear, the piston will come out more and more. So that's basically the brakes adjusting themselves, all right? To the point where the pad is worn out, now you got to replace them. Now, if you do a lot of brakes, invest in this tool. I'm telling you right now, I got it from Summit. Invest in this tool, because this is a lifesaver. Just put this right in like that. Let's just start cranking away. Now what's happening is, as you can see, that these 2 plates are expanding and it's pushing the cylinder back in its bore. And that's why before I started, I took the cap off of the reservoir of the brake fluid, because what's going to happen now is as I push the cylinders back in their bores, it's going to raise the fluid level. So back it off. Cylinder's back in its bore. Look at that. And so now what I can do is, now remember, always be careful with the soft line here. There you go. I can install it, no problems. Because if you try and install the brake pads with that cylinder sticking out of that bore, it's not gonna go. You gotta push that cylinder back in. All right, and that's pretty much it. So I gotta tighten this up. So now doing the fronts are pretty much the same method. Just do it the same way and you shouldn't have any issues. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna tighten this one up, finish all the rest, and then we're gonna take it for a road test. And that way we're also gonna have to break the pads and the rotor on in, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, now after all 4 brakes are done, check out the reservoir. Look at how much the fluid rose, all right? And that's why we removed the cap so the fluid can come out, and it looks like it kind of spilled over a little bit, which is fine. Little side note, brake fluid removes paint. So if you get a little brake fluid on, like let's say your fender, wipe it off immediately and clean it. So what I like to do at this point, I like to siphon out as much of the brake fluid as I can and refill it with fresh. It's just me, you know. After another hour or so, we were able to do the fronts and rear brakes on the Trailblazer SS. Now comes the fun part. You got to break these brakes in. And the cool thing is, PowerStop, they give you directions on how to do just that on the box. So first thing we got to do is we got to get the car up to 40 miles an hour, and then decelerate to 10 miles an hour. We got to do that aggressively 5 times. Then we got to do 35 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour. We got to do that again 5 times. And then drive slow to cool down your brakes for about 5 minutes. And that's how they recommend you break these brakes in. And they say do not come to a complete stop and hold the brakes before the cool down process. So try to go somewhere where there's not a traffic light, because if you do so, they say the rotors will be very hot and holding down the brake pedal will force the brake pads to contact the rotor and possibly create an imprint in the rotor. And that imprint may contribute to the creation of brake judder, J-U-D-D-E-R. Okay, so you kind of want to just do the process and not put any imprints in the rotor. So that's what we're going to do. So let's start the vehicle. All right. Now, while the car's in park, hit the brake pedal. You may feel it go all the way to the floor. All right, hit it again. You keep on hitting it, it's going to get tighter and tighter. So basically what's happening is, you remember how when we had that cylinder in the caliper where we had to push it in? So we pushed in all the way. So now what's happening is it's finding its sweet spot, because it's going to have like a little bit of room where once you put the pads in, and the pad's going to make contact with the rotor. So that's what's happening. So see, now the brake is hard. So we're going to go for a little cruise. But like I said, always test the brakes out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in drive, and I'm going to just, yep, just do that a couple times. Make sure. Okay. All right, so let's begin the process. All right, let's go. All right, 40 miles an hour and down to 10. Down. 10 miles an hour, okay. So that's about number 5. So now we're going to go to 30 miles an hour. Break it down to 5 miles an hour. Pick that up. Do that 5 more times. 4 more times. I'm trying not to step on the brakes when I come to a stop. Just cruise to it. So we don't get an imprint, which can cause judder, J-U-D-D-E-R. All right, so I did the process, and I'm going to be on my way back to the garage shop. Let it cool down. So there you have it. like a champ. Look at that. Wow. It's amazing what a pair of new brakes can do. They feel like. But I'm glad you guys hung out with me and helped me change my brakes. I really appreciate that. But looking at, I think it's daylight savings time this coming week. I'm not sure. But anyways, as always, I can't do what I do without you, and I really appreciate it. But until the next time we see each other, all right, please be easy, and I'll catch you guys real soon. Take care.